Hey guys, so I just wanted to show you this application that I have developed recently. It's the extremely expensive Salad app. It's an app that will teach developers and penetration testers about cross-site scripting. So for developers usually don't know a lot about security. So after going through the educational labs, they're going to learn a bit more about the dangers of XSS, how to develop better applications, how to mitigate their applications against XSS, and so on and so forth. And penetration testers, on the other hand, are going to see what developers think when they're developing their applications. They're going to see more what is on the mind of developers, and you're gonna get comfortable reading code. I wanted penetration testers to read code and to understand code and to see what's going on. So this app is divided into parts. So first is the learning part where students are gonna read all of this material and they're going to learn about secure code review, mitigation. They're going to go through all of this educational content and they're going to learn about how to spot vulnerabilities, how to mitigate vulnerabilities, and more for developers. Also, penetration testers, but this is kind of basic. Like they're going to learn how to test for XSS, different kinds of payloads, how to bypass common filters. They learn that filtering is not enough. So after reading all of the educational content, they're gonna go to the labs. In the labs, they're gonna send all kinds of payloads, try to exploit the app, try to trigger an alert. And I tell the students that every time that they can trigger an alert, they're gonna see a hidden cookie is gonna appear for them. And once they see, that means that they can move forward and go to the next lab. So let's start from here. So students might, so this is the injection point where the payload is going to be injected. First of all, let's see how the app works. So if I search for pizza, whenever I search, that's reflected on the screen. You probably have seen it in any other app that I have visited. So this is the injection point. This is the sink. So through the injection point, I'm going to try to send a payload. I'm sending a basic script tag, script with an alert. If I can trigger the alert, then I can solve the lab. So let me try to send a script tag. Didn't work. .NET MVC does not accept script tags as an user input. So let me try to do something else. An image tag with a faulty source. And since this source doesn't exist, then I'm going to trigger an error. And on error, I want an alert to be displayed. Let's see if this works. Got it. And my hidden cookie, white chocolate coated Oreos. So, how is this happening? Why is this app vulnerable to XSS? Any user input that I enter here is gonna be reflected without proper sanitation in an unsafe sink. And the students are gonna learn about all of that. So if I go on the code, this is the code of the app of that specific page, and I can see that I'm getting the value of the input, and I'm just rendering it on the search message element using .inner HTML. That's a vulnerable sink, and the students will learn that once they so first of all, penetration testers will learn that if they go through code and they see that user input is not being sanitized and is being rendered inside an element using .inner HTML, that's dangerous. They will learn that. And developers as well, they will learn that using inner text is a safer alternative. Now, if I go back and I try to send the same payload, the exact same payload that I have sent a minute ago, okay, that's the same payload. It's not working anymore. The app has been successfully mitigated, is now fixed, is now not vulnerable to XSS anymore. Simple as that. And students are going to learn how to do all of that. So let's move on to the next slide. Let me search for pizza. Again, the same thing. User input is being rendered on the page. So we have seen it before. This is the exact same exercise, exactly the same thing. Error equals alert. Exactly the same thing. Oh well, maybe not exactly the same thing. So in this lab, the image tag has been blocked. You cannot send an image tag. So what am I going to do? I'm going to send any one of the other hundreds of tags that I have that can execute JavaScript, one of them being iframe. So iframe can also execute JavaScript through its attribute. So onload equals alert. And let me see if I can send it without a source. Yeah, so it works. And I have oat cinnamon cookies right there. Perfect. So let me go to lab number 3. I'm going to search for pizza. No results found. Salad. Okay, so they have salads. So students are going to learn that we have different injection points and different sinks. So one thing that's less obvious is that anything that I search for in here gets reflected on the URL. So let's see. If I send an image tag, again, the same one, just copy it so it's easier for later. Okay, so this input is well protected. For the sake of this presentation, I'm not gonna go through the code, but like believe me, whatever I enter in this input tag is gonna be protected, but the URL has not been properly sanitized and protected. So if I send a payload through the URL, the same payload, then it gets reflected on the page, and I got my peanut butter cookies back. So developers are going to learn that they have to protect each and every injection point, each and every sink. So they can spend a fairly amount of time making a well-protected sink, but they might forget that there is another injection point to the app that they maybe have forgotten of. And penetration testers are going to learn that there are various different injection points on any app. So let's move on. So in here we have a case of that I can post a review, and it's going to be persistent on the app. Any other user that visits the same app is going to be exposed to whenever I embed in here. And students learn about embedded XSS, and they learn about the infamous MySpace embedded XSS case, the payload crafted by Sammy. That's pretty ginormous. And then they learn about the Twitter case that happened in 2014, which was like simpler. Students learn about how to craft those kinds of payloads and why are they so dangerous. Any other user that visits this same page is gonna get affected essentially by the payload that I send in here. Perfect. So what's going on? I have a little protection here that have to be bypassed, which is that src equals is blocked. On error equals is blocked. This is not going to work. But maybe I can bypass it by sending src space and the payload on error space alert. Maybe this is going to work. And it does. Chocolate chip cookies. Great. Moving on. Let's move on. Okay. They value my feedback. Feedback is pizza. Okay, so whatever I write in here is going to be reflected in here. Interesting. Let me send our classic payload. Not working. So students are going to learn about how to bypass common filters. One of the things that they learn is about HTML encoding. So let me just copy the A. That's the HTML encoded version of the letter A. So what we have in here is that the string alert is blocked, is filtered out. So instead of writing alert like this, I'm going to write HTML encoded version of A and then alert one. Also, the string on error is blocked. You cannot send it. But since there are thousands of attributes and it's difficult to just hundreds of attributes and tens of attributes, and since it's difficult to filter out all of them, the developers have forgotten to filter out on mouse over. This works. Mouse over, and I got my secret cookie. Sweet at 7, delicious, one of my favorites. Okay, so now let me introduce you guys to the Mushroom social media. I'm gonna log in as Mario. Perfect. I have a weak password. So here am I. You can see the interesting this post, right? It's changing its color. Okay, it's changing its color. Oh God, I have a script tag. So I can send posts. I can add a post to myself. That's just fine. But what if I send a tag? What if I send a tag? Will it accept it? What do you think? Yes, it accepts tags. Extremely dangerous. Horrible. So let me visit my friend Luigi. Host player 2 now. Interesting. So what I don't know is that Luigi has a server that is it's Luigi has a server that is stealing the cookies of whoever visits his page. It captures the cookies of whoever visits his page. How does he does that? He has embedded an XSS payload using a script tag. What he does, it fetches his own server and he sends the cookies of whoever visits his page to his server. So now he has my cookies. And why is he has my session cookies? And why is this dangerous, you might ask yourself? And let me show you. If I log out, inspect, go to application. I just paste the cookies that have been stolen. And now I refresh the page and I'm logged in as Mario. So Luigi can does that. Luigi can do that because he stole my cookies. So that's what allowed him to do that. So let's the students at some point I take the students to the making others act on your behalf. And students are going to learn more about how the embedded XSS episode of MySpace and Twitter happened. Okay. Now I take the students back to the lab and let's try to craft a payload that is going to mimic a post submission, right? So let's see how can that be done. So if I inspect this element is a form with action to cookie stealing / add post, method is post, and it only has a text area with name post content, right? So the same way that Luigi could embed a payload, using a script tag and a fetch function, we're going to do something similar. Okay, so let's go there. You see, I'm going to do this on, let me do it on Visual Studio Code because it's easier. And then I'm just gonna paste it there. So let's start with a script tag. Okay, so first thing we're gonna fetch where. So we saw that that this add post functionality is adding a post to content add post, right? Let's see it again. Slash cookie stealing slash add post. So we have to fetch there. Okay, slash cookie stealing slash post. Add post. Perfect. Now, the second thing that we need is the method. We see that the method is post, right? Correct. Now we're going to send the headers. Since we're mimicking a form submission, we're going to send us content type. And this is not going to be JSON or anything, right? It's going to be, excuse me, application x www form URL encoded, right? Because we're mimicking a form submission. Perfect. So now we're going to send the body. So the backend is expecting an object that it has a name of post content. So which is going to be the value of the text area. So post content is going to be equal to whatever we want. It's going to have to be encode URI component. And in here, we can send whatever we want. So let's say it works. So this is not necessary, but just because like that's how I built the backend to identify that the payload was sent. So we're gonna set a specific cookie of hacked to be true. Okay, then finish it. Perfect. So we have our payload. Copy it. I embed my payload, add post, and it's right here. Perfect. So now let me log out, log in as Luigi. Let me visit. Those are my posts. See that host player 2 now. Okay. Let me visit Mario. And I got my brownie cookies and the lemon cookies. So do you remember that I had only 2 posts? I go back. Just by visiting Mario's profile, you can see that I trigger an add post submission. And I send a fetch request to that endpoint, sending the payload that is embedded on Mario's profile. Interesting. So that's all. Students are going to learn why XSS is so dangerous, how to embed payloads, how to develop applications that are safe to XSS, and they're going to end up this game with more tools. They acquire tools to be better developers, better penetration testers, and move on their careers.